Everything else moved, but the border remained stationary. Stores carry the same brands, local dialects merge, and even the radio plays the same tunes. School buses pass bilingual signage as they roll by. There is more than just northern influence in these communities. There is a gradual, silent transition. So when almost all of your exports go north, how close is too close? When whole sectors rely on Canadian electricity grids, ports, and pipelines. When your economy trembles whenever Ottawa sneezes, it's no longer just a nearby issue. These 10 U.S. states are just one trade move and one policy away from feeling more Canadian than American. Number 3, Montana, a rugged state built on wide skies, strong hands and pipelines buried deep underground. But what happens when those pipelines start leading somewhere else? The economy of Montana is more intertwined with Canada than most people know. It imports almost all of its fuel from north of the border. In fact, 4 of its oil refineries rely almost exclusively on Canadian crude. Stop that flow. The effect wouldn't be gradual, it would happen right away. And Montana leans northward like a wind-shaped tree, encompassing not only the oil trade, tourism, and agriculture. Therefore, in the event that Canada changes its trade channels or closes a policy door, does Montana have a contingency plan? Given that 93% of your shipments arrive from only 2 nations, one of which is Canada, it's dependency, not simply friendship. Could Montana end up feeling like it's on Canadian life support, making it the first American state to do so? Number 2, Maine. On the surface, the rocky coastlines, serene ports, and lobster boats pierce the morning mist like a picturesque postcard. But beneath a state that is treading carefully on its finances, most residents are unaware of how much Maine depends on Canada. Just 2 nations account for more than 70% of its imports. Mexico and Canada, with Canada holding the majority of the share. Imagine an interruption to the cross-border trade that powers everything from manufacturing to energy to the state's renowned seafood. A change in policy, a tariff increase, or even a slight slowdown at the border. With a declining population and scant industrial diversity to cushion the shock, Maine's economy could not just stutter, but also collapse. Small communities might be impacted first. Schools that are having trouble, disappearance of jobs, the decline in tourism. Is a quiet economic storm only one foreign policy choice away from Maine? Please take a moment to subscribe before we continue, because it enables us to continue revealing stories that most people never anticipate, and we promise that the next state may surprise you. Number 1, Michigan. It used to be the driving force behind American business, a state that created dreams on 4 wheels and sent them flying throughout the world. But now take a closer look. You'll notice something that few people want to acknowledge when you look past the flashy branding and industrial revivals. With its lifeline pointing north, Michigan is balancing on the brink of a knife. The economy of Michigan is closely and nearly perilously linked to Canada. Actually, more than 50 billion US dollars are imported annually from Canada in the amount of, with vehicles, energy, and machinery leading the charge. That trading routes are reversed, returning more than $27 billion in U.S. money across the border. However, this is when things become dangerous, that going back and forth is required. Before an automobile part reaches a showroom, it may cross the border 6 or 7 times. Imagine a change in policy now, a disruption of the border and a diplomatic rift. It could disrupt entire supply chains in addition to slowing output, and this has happened previously. A trucker demonstration on the Ambassador Bridge in 2022 stopped around 400 million US dollars exchanged daily. Within hours, the assembly lines that connect Detroit and Windsor, Ontario, ceased to operate. Almost 30% of all commerce between the US and Canada. Beyond the manufacturing, Michigan leans on Canada because it cannot afford to blink. Energy, tourism, and agriculture. The 2 economies share veins and do more than merely commerce. Therefore, whether Michigan is close to Canada is not the question. Has the line already become hazy? That is the true question. Thus, your economy is dependent on the policies of another nation. Supply chains and labor schedules. How much autonomy do you actually possess?